A new empire rises from the ashes of the past. Heaven's mandate carved into white marble and gold.
The center of the world, built for eternity.
Power hidden behind walls of silence and shadow.
In the 1420s, Beijing was transforming into the center of the known world for those living under the mandate of heaven. A city shaped by the ambition of an emperor who had seized the throne from his own nephew and now sought to legitimize his power through the most grandiose architecture ever conceived. Within a generation, this ancient Mongol capital would be reconfigured as the heart of the Ming Dynasty, a place where every stone, every gate, and every hall conveyed a clear message. The emperor was the son of heaven, and this was his earthly palace. In this video, I use modern AI tools to bring historic paintings, maps, and engravings to life, shifting perspectives, changing camera angles, and moving through these scenes in ways their original artists never could. The goal isn't just to look at the past, but to step into it, to walk through Beijing as it once was, and feel what it must have meant to stand here when everything was just beginning. And if you stick around until the end, we'll compare these same locations to how they look today, to see what time has changed and what still remains. Before we step into the newly inaugurated city, it helps to understand how this story began. In 1402, Zhu Di, the Prince of Yan, took the imperial throne after a brutal civil war against his nephew, the young Jianwen Emperor. To consolidate his power and distance himself from the ghosts of those he had overthrown, he decided to move the capital from Nanjing in the south to Beijing, his former power base in the north. In 1406, he ordered the start of the most ambitious construction project in Chinese history. For 14 years, more than 1 million workers, including 100,000 master craftsmen, would labor without rest to create what the world would come to know as the Forbidden City. Imagine the scale of this undertaking. Logs of precious wood, traveling from the jungles of the southwest for 4 years along rivers and canals, blocks of marble being dragged over ice roads in the dead of winter from quarries 30 miles away, millions of golden bricks baked in special kilns in Suzhou, all converging toward this point in northern China, where the dream of a usurper would become the residence of 24 emperors. This image shows the Meridian Gate, known in Chinese as Wu Men, the main and most imposing entrance to the Forbidden City. Completed in 1420, it rises nearly 125 feet above ground level, crowned by 5 pavilions that give it its other name, the Tower of the 5 Phoenixes. The central gate was reserved exclusively for the emperor, though there were 2 exceptions to this rule. An empress could cross it only once in her lifetime, on her wedding day, and the top 3 students of the imperial examination had the privilege of exiting through it after receiving their honors from the emperor. Officials entered through the eastern gate, the royal family through the western one, and the 2 corner gates only opened during grand ceremonies. In the upper pavilions resided bells and drums that announced the emperor's movements. The bells rang when he departed for the Temple of Heaven, the drums when he headed to the ancestral temple. Both sounded together when the emperor went to receive his ministers in the Hall of Supreme Harmony. Passing through the Meridian Gate, we encounter one of the most elegant elements of the complex, the inner Golden Water River. This artificial canal meanders through a wide courtyard, crossed by 5 white marble bridges whose balustrades are carved with dragon and phoenix motifs. It's not just decoration. The river represents the 5 Confucian virtues: humanity, duty, wisdom, trustworthiness, and ritual correctness. The central bridge was reserved for the emperor, the 2 adjacent ones for members of the imperial family, and the outer ones for ordinary officials. But the river also served a crucial practical function. It was a water reserve against fires, a constant threat to these wooden structures. The riverbed and banks were paved with white stone, and decorative marble columns lined the entire course. From these bridges, the view to the north reveals the Gate of Supreme Harmony, guarded by the largest pair of bronze lions in the entire palace. The Gate of Supreme Harmony, Tai Hermen, marks the entrance to the ceremonial heart of the Forbidden City, flanked by two bronze lions, the male on the east stepping on a sphere symbolizing supreme power, the female on the west caressing a cub representing the continuity of the imperial line. During the Ming Dynasty, this gate was known as Feng Tianmen, and here the emperor held morning audiences to discuss affairs of state with his ministers. When the court convened, officials entered in procession through the Meridian Gate and lined up in the courtyard according to rank, waiting for the moment to kneel before the Son of Heaven. In front of the gate extends an enormous square without a single tree. In ancient China, the emperor was considered the highest being under heaven, born to rule, and nothing could surpass the Hall of Supreme Harmony in height. Not even trees. Beyond the gate, a three-tiered white marble terrace rises from the square. Upon it rest the three halls that constitute the heart of imperial power. The first and largest is the Hall of Supreme Harmony, Tie Hedian, the largest surviving wooden structure in China. Originally built in 1420 and then called the Hall of Heavenly Mandate, it rises nearly 100 feet above the surrounding square. It is 9 bays wide and 5 bays deep, numbers connected in Chinese cosmology to the majesty of the emperor. 72 pillars support the roof, 6 of them, those closest to the throne, lacquered in gold and decorated with dragons. The imperial throne, carved from red sandalwood, rests on a 6.5-foot platform at the exact center of the hall. Carved dragons cover every surface. In the ceiling, directly above the throne, a coiled dragon holds in its mouth the Xuan Yuan mirror, a sphere that, according to legend, would fall to kill any usurper who dared sit on the throne without legitimate right. It's almost ironic that the emperor who ordered this hall built was himself a usurper. Behind the Hall of Supreme Harmony we find the Hall of Central Harmony, Yongle, a considerably smaller square structure with a pyramidal roof. This was where the emperor rested before presiding over grand ceremonies. Here he rehearsed his speeches, reviewed the texts of the rituals he was about to perform, and received officials from the Ministry of Rites to finalize the details of each ceremony. Before departing for the Temple of Heaven for the annual sacrifices, the emperor passed through this hall to mentally prepare for the encounter with the divine. The intimacy of its scale contrasts with the grandeur surrounding it, a moment of pause amid the magnificence. The third hall on the terrace is the Hall of Preserving Harmony, Bo Hedian, similar in style to the Hall of Supreme Harmony, but of smaller proportions. During the Ming Dynasty, emperors came here to change their attire before ceremonies investing the empress or crown prince. It was also the setting for imperial banquets celebrating princess weddings or honoring Mongol princes and civil and military officials on New Year's Eve. Behind this hall lies one of the most impressive engineering feats of the complex, a huge marble slab carved with clouds and dragons weighing nearly 200 tons. Transporting it from the Fangshan quarries, 30 miles away, required 20,000 men and 28 days of work, dragging it over ice roads in the dead of winter. Crossing the Gate of Heavenly Purity, we enter the inner court, the emperor's private domain. The Palace of Heavenly Purity, Qianqinggong, was the residence of Ming emperors, the place where they lived, slept, and attended to daily affairs of state. They read documents, signed decrees, received ministers and ambassadors in audiences less formal than those of the great ceremonial halls. Similar in scale to the Hall of Supreme Harmony, but proportionally smaller, This palace represented power in its most intimate dimension. Above the throne hangs a tablet with 4 characters meaning justice and honor, a constant reminder of the principles that should guide the ruler. 14 Ming emperors lived within these walls, administering an empire that stretched from the Mongolian steppes to the southern seas. Between the Palace of Heavenly Purity and the Palace of Earthly Tranquility stands the Hall of Union, Zhao Tidian, a square structure with a pyramidal roof where the imperial seals were kept. During the Ming Dynasty, these seals represented the emperor's absolute authority to govern. The Palace of Earthly Tranquility, Kun Ningong, was originally the empress's residence. A building 9 bays wide and 3 deep with double eaves, it represented the earthly complement to the emperor's palace. Together, heavenly purity and earthly tranquility symbolized the harmonious union of heaven and earth, of yang and yin, of emperor and empress. Behind these palaces extends the imperial garden, Yuhua Yuan, a relatively small but densely elaborated space that served as the emperor's pleasure ground. Ancient pines, cypresses and bamboos mix with artificial rocks, fish ponds and ornamental pavilions. At the center rises the Hall of Imperial Peace, Qinandian, a Taoist temple where the emperor could retreat for contemplation. The garden's organic design seems to depart from the rigid symmetry of the rest of the complex, offering a respite from ceremonial formality. Here, among winding paths and seasonal flowers, the Son of Heaven could forget for a moment the weight of the world resting on his shoulders. To the north of the garden stands the Gate of Divine Prowess, Shun Wumen, the northern entrance to the Forbidden City. During the Ming Dynasty, it was known as the Xuanwu Gate, in honor of the tortoise serpent god who protected the north according to feng shui principles. This gate served primarily for concubines and other members of the imperial family. In its tower resided a bell and drum that marked time. At dusk, the bell rang 108 times, and then bell and drum alternated every 2 hours through the night to announce the passing of time. At dawn, the bell rang again. During the Ming Dynasty, a market was set up in front of this gate on the 4th, 14th, and 24th days of each lunar month. Beyond the palace walls, the city of Beijing was being rebuilt to serve as the imperial capital. Emperor Yongle ordered the construction of new walls, moving the north wall 1.5 miles south of the old Mongol city of Dadu, and extending the south wall 1/3 of a mile further. The new inner wall had 9 gates, 3 in the south and 2 in each of the other cardinal directions. These walls, reinforced with stone and brick over rammed earth cores, stretched for more than 14 miles, creating a fortress that would protect the city for centuries. Outside the walls to the north would rise Jingshan Hill, built from earth excavated from the moat surrounding the Forbidden City, offering a panoramic view of the palace and fulfilling the feng shui function of protecting the complex from evil winds from the north. South of the Forbidden City, the emperor ordered the construction of the Temple of Heaven, also completed in 1420. This complex of religious buildings was where the emperor, as intermediary between heaven and earth, performed annual ceremonies to pray for good harvests and offer sacrifices to heaven. The original complex, called the Altar of Heaven and Earth, covered an area larger than the Forbidden City itself. Twice a year, the emperor and his entire retinue moved from the palace to this temple, wearing special robes and abstaining from meat. No common citizen could witness this procession or the ceremony that followed. At the temple, the emperor personally prayed to heaven, and the slightest error in the ritual was considered a bad omen for the entire nation for the coming year. Knowing what we know now, it's strange to think about what it must have felt like to be here in 1420, when all of this was new. The golden roofs gleaming under the sun for the first time, the smell of freshly cut wood and wet paint, craftsmen putting finishing touches on carved dragons that would remain motionless for centuries. Emperor Yongle had invested 14 years of his reign in this project, mobilized resources from every corner of the empire, forced millions of workers to labor without rest. And now, finally, he could walk through these courtyards and halls as the legitimate son of heaven, ruling from the exact center of the universe, at least according to the cosmology he himself had ordered, manifested in stone and wood. But the celebration was short-lived. That same year of inauguration, lightning struck the Hall of Supreme Harmony, reducing it to ashes barely 9 months after its dedication. Many interpreted this as a sign from heaven, a divine judgment on the usurper who had overthrown his own nephew. Emperor Yongle, however, persisted. He ordered the reconstruction and completed the transfer of the court, establishing the 6 ministries in their new quarters and formally proclaiming Beijing as the northern capital. Nanjing would remain as a secondary capital, but real power would reside here, in this city he had rebuilt in his own image and will. I can't be in Beijing at the moment of its re-inauguration as imperial capital and not pause at what this transformation meant. In this very place, the emperor who had sent Yongle on his maritime expeditions across the Indian Ocean, who had compiled the Yongle Encyclopedia with more than 20,000 volumes, who had reconstructed the Great Wall's defenses, was also creating the stage from which China would be governed for the next 5 centuries. Every architectural decision was a political statement. The north-south orientation aligned with the pole star, the numbers 9 and 5 repeated in columns, steps and bays, the imperial yellow and auspicious red colors dominating every visible surface. Nothing was accidental. Everything conveyed the message that the emperor occupied his rightful place in the cosmic order. Now, I want to bring you into the present and show how these places look today. Thanks for being here, and if you have suggestions or requests for future cities, share them in the comments. Let's get into it. The Meridian Gate we saw in the ancient paintings still stands today, though the current structure dates from a reconstruction in 1647 after it was damaged by fire during the fall of the Ming Dynasty. Today, it functions as the main entrance to the Palace Museum, and every day, thousands of visitors cross its thresholds into a world that for 5 centuries was forbidden to common people. The inner Golden Water River continues to meander through the first courtyard, its 5 white marble bridges as elegant as they were 600 years ago. Water still flows from Jade Spring Hill, northwest of Beijing, crossing the complex and draining from the southeast corner into the moat. The drainage system designed in the Ming era still works perfectly, evacuating the heaviest rains without water accumulating in any of the palace's more than 9,000 rooms. The Hall of Supreme Harmony we see today was rebuilt in 1695 during the reign of the Qing Emperor Kongxi. After multiple fires over the centuries, the current structure maintains the proportions and original design, though the name changed. The Qing preferred characters, emphasizing harmony over supremacy, a subtle philosophical shift reflected in the tablets of all major buildings. The Gate of Divine Prowess, through which we exit the complex to the north, looks directly toward Jingshan Park. The artificial hill built from earth from the moat remains the highest point in old Beijing, and from its summit, the Pavilion of Everlasting Spring offers the most impressive panoramic view of the Forbidden City, a sea of golden roofs stretching southward under the capital's sky. The Temple of Heaven remains to the southeast of the center, its circular structures symbolizing heaven in contrast to the square forms representing earth. The Hall of Prayer for Good Harvests, with its triple roof of blue tiles and its wooden structure without a single nail, remains one of the most perfect examples of Ming architecture, though the current building is a late 19th century reconstruction after lightning destroyed the original. What began as the megalomaniacal dream of a usurper became the most enduring seat of government in Chinese history. 24 emperors ruled from these halls. Dynasties fell and were replaced. Foreign armies occupied these courtyards. Revolutions transformed the nation, but the Forbidden City remained. In 1987, UNESCO declared it a World Heritage Site, recognizing it as the largest collection of preserved ancient wooden structures in the world. Today, more than 14 million visitors per year walk through these same courtyards where emperors once decided the fate of millions. I do really appreciate you watching. Your ideas, input, and constructive feedback really do shape what comes next. Feel free to leave a comment below. Until next time.